I ask everybody to stand for the pledge, followed by a moment of silence. That's Ms. Garrett, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Amen.
Call the meeting to order and ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, if you would, could we amend the agenda to add the approval of competition cheer at Thomas Walker pending the principal's approval?
Okay, do we have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we can approve the agenda. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have public comment. Do we have anyone that would like to address the board?
So I don't really have a comment exactly, and I needed to ask you all if you would please do a drawing for me. And my little middle school cheerleaders have done a raffle. They have sold all these tickets, these raffle tickets. And I feel like this was the best place to have the drawing so that it looks like it's on the up and up and we're good. So if you all want to look at what's in the bag, this is where we do, this is what we're drawing from. And I'll let you all see. I don't have it just like all stuffed with just one person's name or anything. Well, you never know what people are going to do, you know?
This
You
means
just
not
never
let them on
know.
to say it anyway.
All right, you good? You see?
Problems with cheer this year, we'll let them do it.
Well, I think we might have a conflict. Is there anybody in here that didn't buy a ticket? Because I didn't.
What's it?
I didn't,
Okay.
because I didn't know anything about
I
it.
didn't
This is
either.
for my
First
middle
time.
school cheerleaders. It's through Lee High.
Sure.
And they have raised money this way. So
Actually, I bought two
Did I buy a
tickets.
ticket? Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to buy a ticket?
It's too late now, Mr. Williams. You cannot buy a ticket this time.
This is for $5,000.
Did you hear what she just said, Missy?
Yes, 5,000.
Wrong about one.
Karen Williams. And it's not a conflict of interest. Yes.
That's for the 5,000,
Yes,
correct?
yes, ma'am. So I'm glad to say.
Oh.
Yay, thank you all so much.
Any more public comment? If not, we'll.
Wait a minute, I'd like to have a, okay, sorry.
Hello everyone. I'm here today to talk about two foreign exchange students. Latasha Parsons, she's in charge of helping kids from different countries find homes here in Lee County. There's two specific kids, they're from Spain, and their paperwork's already being finalized, and more than likely they'll be attending at Thomas Walker. So my question is, I've asked her, you know, 'cause she asked, are they able to play soccer here? And I said, well, unfortunately I don't know, but I can ask. So I kind of gave her a few questions that more than likely what will be asked here today. So the questions were, why won't they come to Lehigh? 2, why would it be fair to allow exchange students to play at Lehigh and not other Thomas Walker kids? And 3, how would they get to the middle school where we practice or play games at? So her first response was, it's not that the exchange program will not let the students go to Lehigh. Each family that fills out the application picks what school they would prefer their students to go to. We don't have families at Lee at the moment willing to host, so that's why there aren't. And her second response, referring to the second question, why would it be fair? She said, I feel like it would be fair to let an exchange student play a sport that isn't offered at their school, because they are here for an American experience, which that's what a lot of them are here for. And a lot of the students don't have school sports in their countries, which is true. I did have a foreign exchange student last year. He was from Spain. And his high school is basically college-based. So it's not, they don't have sports. So the way it is over there, there's like clubs, you know, stuff like that they have to pay out of pocket. To finish your response to the second question, since they're only here 5 months to a year, it's different than letting a student that has been here in this area to allow them to play. And then her third response to the third question, how would they get here if it was approved and if it was allowed? She said, just like any other students that come here on the program, their families are responsible for getting them to and from sport activities. So if this is allowed, we wouldn't have to worry about a bus situation or transportation. In all honesty, if the kids are not allowed to play specific sports in their own country, if they have to pay out of pocket, it's kind of like here. If we have clubs, some kids can afford it. So for them, it's kind of like a situation, they can pick what host family they want to go with, but they don't get to pick the school. So I was here today to see if maybe we can look into it and maybe there would be a possibility of some leniency to allow them to play. And not only will it be their benefit for an American experience, but benefit to our kids, coaches, maybe even our school, because they're getting another perspective of what another place is. And in the near future, next school year, we're supposed to be getting quite a bit of foreign exchange coming here to Lehigh. And that's the dream, to get a good foreign exchange program, not just here, but Thomas Walker as well.
Mr. Chairman, I think ultimately it'll come down to the Virginia High School League answer, because they govern sports in the state of Virginia at the high school. So I think I'll need to get with Mr. Mullins, the athletic director at Lehigh, and Ms. Parker, the athletic director at Thomas Walker, and reach out to Virginia High School League to get a specific answer if that's allowed. I know Thomas Walker doesn't offer soccer. Mr. Robbins, I know you did athletic director sometime back in the past. I don't know if that question has came up before.
It has, and it's not allowed.
But I don't care to call again just to see if anything's changed.
Okay.
We'll get an official answer from Virginia High School League.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Next we have board comments. Do we have any board comments?
Yes. I had a question. The Dryden School, I think the school board, could somebody tell me what all they're going to give? Because they said they wouldn't have a list, wouldn't have to buy anything for school. Is there someone here that can tell me what is on that list? The reason I'm asking is the teachers have been having to buy out their own pocket stuff like, and this is primary, so Clorox Clean, I was trying to think what else, but little things, and they usually put out a wish list to their children if any parents would like to bring that in. If they don't, the teacher ends up buying it, and last year I was told they only got $100 in ADM money. So.
Ms. Willis, I know we use title money to buy school supplies.
They have to be instructional though, paper, pencil, binders. You know, we can't use that money to buy like the Clorox wipes, more cleaning or hand sanitizer. It has to be instructional only. That's what we provide with the title funds.
Okay, well the next question would it be all right for the teachers to still put out that wish list to their students?
I mean, I'm not opposed. I know at one time we did away with a supply list to put less of a burden on our families. But like she said, there's only certain things we can buy with that title money. We do give each school ADM money, and the principal has the power when they get that money to distribute it amongst their teachers. And depending on how many teachers they've got, it's based on enrollment. They can use that money how they see fit, and I know some probably is $100, $150. During the pandemic, we supplied most of the Clorox wipes and tissues, and so I mean.
Are we not still doing that?
I've not had a request for some in a while. I think we've still got some in storage
We sent a lot of hand sanitizer and wipes to the schools just this summer because we had a huge surplus where we'd ordered so much, so.
But we can reach out to the schools
Check on that.
if you all are good with it and see,
Yeah.
you know, and buy a shipment here, and you can get a better discount if you buy in bulk anyway. So we can look at doing that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever supplies they need in that area, let's get it for them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other board comments?
I'd just like to say, I'd like to thank our personnel that's working this summer. You know, there's a lot of projects going on from one end of this county to the other. A lot of people's talking. And I just have to thank them for their job that they're doing. You know, they're working overtime, they're working Saturdays and Sundays and stuff, people. And I see part of it myself. They're working and they're just doing a good job. And I just want to thank them for their job they're doing, trying to get our schools back in shape for start fall. I mean, start the new school year next month. So
That's the
I
third
just like to
day.
thank them. They're just doing a good job.
I agree, Gary. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Anybody else? We'll move on to the consent agenda. We need a motion to approve the minutes of the June 8, 2023 regular meeting and the June 28, 2023 special call meeting, approval of claims and expenditures, approval of adult meal prices for fiscal year 2024, approval of Head Start fiscal year 2024 salary scales, retire LCSD policy IICA-SR driver pay for extra trips, approval of update to school board policy IICA-BR approval of field trips, approval of addition of security benefit as another option for retirement planning companies, approval of disposal of surplus property for school board policy DN disposal of surplus items, and authorize the division superintendent to fill vacancies existing or occurring between July 14, 2023 to August 9, 2023. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I can explain a couple of those policies. At one time, there was a policy that said everybody who drives a field trip would get paid $11. We now pay them their daily or their hourly rate for each driver. So we need to retire that policy that says that everybody would get paid $11. And then the other one, where we approved our salary scales last month, we put that statement in there that if a coach drove a bus, they would get paid. We added that to that policy to make that clear. And then security benefits, many of our employees had used Voya to make the tax sheltered annuity. They are no longer taking new clients. And this is the recommendation that we could offer another opportunity for our employees.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Reports of the board. Any reports? Reports of division superintendent, Mr. Denny.
Mr. Chairman, back in March, we got permission to look at prices on several different projects. Ms. Belcher, if you will, we looked at getting a price on heating and air conditioning at, maybe let me give you a little explanation. The front boiler at Thomas Walker is beyond repair. I think it's a 50s model. We have looked at the possibility of putting in a propane boiler and connecting it to the other propane boiler. We've also looked at the possibility of putting these units in the classrooms that boiler would feed. It will be much cheaper, Ms. Belcher, I believe, at Thomas Walker to put in these units than it would be to put in a new boiler. And I think she's got those dollar amounts she can help me with.
The board units, the estimate right now is about $50,000. You may, and they said approximately $10,000 for the electrical upgrade. The boiler unit, the new boiler unit turnkey, that's the piping and everything is going to be $222,500. So it's a huge savings going for that.
And I think it's not on your back there. I think it's about 5 classrooms that boiler would feed. And I think we need to go with the cheaper route.
So they're electric, not gas?
It'll be a unit just like that will go into a window.
Is that like gas or electric?
Electric.
And then they would put split units in the hallway, that one area of the hallway where it would have heating and cooling as well.
And these are heat and cool.
And the usage is what I'm wondering about.
At St. Charles, we have not had any great increase, and they have had these units for over pushing a year now.
They really working good, St. Paul, they're
Yes.
really tickled with that. with some
And
of
each
that.
individual, you can control it if you have a teacher who's a little cool or a teacher that's hot. I know there may be some that wish they had it, but I think as we go, I think this is the way to go. Same thing at Dryden, the bowlers at Dryden. Part of them, I think we could get up and possibly run, but I really hate to throw good money at bad and have still 50, 60-year-old, 70-year-old bowlers. Dryden is a little different. The bowler is actually, I think, Ms. Belcher helped me, I think bowler's a little cheaper at Dryden
Cheaper.
than the barred units, but I'm still recommending the barred units because it does have the heat, does have the cool, and what's the numbers, Ms. Belcher?
For the barred units at Dryden. It's 260,000. If we go boiler, it's 150,000. 150,000 if you do the boiler unit.
There'll be some additional cost because you have to get the tanks, you have to do that piping.
You don't have none of that at Dryden.
There is none.
I'd go electric. Is there any way we can get the solar panels at them two schools?
Well, that might be a conversation in the coming months about a phase 2 on the,
That's what I would push.
at Elk Knob. I think the dollar amounts are almost identical between the boiler and the
Less
HVAC.
than $3,000 difference in the pricing in Elk Knob, yes.
So I'm recommending that, we go with the barred units. We're going to use ESSER money. We just have to amend our applications. We've got the money there because we bid those windows at Jonesville and we got 0 bids. So we can take the money that we had allocated for the windows at Jonesville because we didn't get any bids, and that money has to be spent by next September, and use it for these HVAC projects.
So what about air conditioning, Lehigh Gym?
They have not given us a formal,
I can check on it again. He was,
he was kind of taken back when we asked him, and I said, give me a ballpark, and he said, $250,000-ish. I said, see if you can get us a little firmer number.
Yeah.
So we can nail them down on that.
Going back to the boilers, if you went the boiler route, there's no air conditioning to it.
Correct. It'd still be the window units in each room. Also, you'd have the fluctuation. I mean, I know electricity fluctuates, costs probably only go up. Propane, you've got to acquire that as well. And
I could beat the question, but warranty on these things
was 3 or 5?
I think it's 5.
and the warranty on the boiler.
A year.
I think, yeah, it's not.
And we've contacted them about sending some people for training because they're not like the old coal fire
Nope.
boilers. They're a whole lot different and a whole lot more intricate and finicky. I mean,
There's more liability there too.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Brian, you're talking about these in every room, right?
at those locations,
Those 3
at
locations?
Dryden and at Elk Knob, it would be all locations. At Thomas Walker, it's only those classrooms that the boiler is impacted by, which is only 5 classrooms.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Basically the hall coming in going to the principal's office from the parking lot.
Yes, the far west. We also looked at tennis building cost. Ms. Belcher, what was the low bid on that?
The low bid on that is 160,000. But also we have to get an engineer because students will be in the building. So we have to get an architect engineer stamp on that, which will probably be an additional $5,000 to $7,500 to get that because it goes into a different building code in the building inspector's office.
We've got a price on softball building. That low bid was,
That's just a shell building, 62,000.
it will also require that architect and engineer stamp because kids will be in that building.
Occupancy.
We got a price on a storage building at Rose Hill. They have separated the old trailers that we have down there. They are ready to be removed. That'll be cheaper than tearing them down and disposing them. The storage building was $56,000. That does not require an architect and engineer stamp because there will be no kids in that building.
So how big was that?
That's what I was gonna ask.
60 by 40.
40 by 60.
That's a monster.
That is a big.
If you've been down to Rose Hill, they have the whole stage full of items that came out of those 2 trailers. The cafeteria is about half full of stuff.
Thomas Walker, same way.
And, you know, in the future, I think we need to look at putting storage buildings at some of these locations, but this one is a need because they can't use the stage, they can't use part of the cafeteria right now, and
Would it not be easier to buy a storage building from, say, Temple Line down here, or somebody like that?
well, you could buy 3 or 4 storage buildings, to put that much stuff in it.
A 60 by 40, that's, you can play basketball in it, or something that size.
I mean, and that will get rid of 2 storage buildings that's down there. You know, the ones right up above the new restrooms. One of them's not technically a storage building, it's a shipping container that's been there.
Yeah, it's ugly.
So we're trying to put it all in one location.
Right.
But that one doesn't require that.
Last question, how much of that stuff do they actually need? Because I know at TW on that stage, it's been jammed with junk that is about useless.
She has gotten rid of a whole lot of stuff. I think she has at least the stuff that we could use at other schools, because I think you need to keep enough stuff that you could have a classroom if you needed to have one somewhere. And of course, we would utilize it since she has the location. That if enrollment went up and you needed to have an additional classroom, you could do so quickly. And I think most of what she's got is good stuff and it needs to be kept. And, you know, if we can put it in a secure location and take care of it, I think it'll benefit the entire county.
That Rose Hill thing, Brian, was that kind of concrete floor and everything?
Part of it's a concrete floor because I really hate to put good furniture on the dirt
Right.
and ruin it. So this will be a location that we can use to store stuff.
And 56,000 part of that concrete and all,
Where's
this
concrete?
building like that, the bookshop. Yes, ma'am.
We don't have
Okay, thank you.
Good.
The rest of us can't. They'll start the roof at Elydale next week.
No, the 24th.
24th, sorry, a week from Monday. They hope to get that really going and have it possibly mostly completed before the start of school. Because when they rip it off, they can go pretty fast unless they run into some issue that we don't know about. What else am I forgetting, Ms. Belcher?
I think that's all. St. Charles.
The gym floor at St. Charles, $60,000, 65.
65 is the low bid right now.
I think I sent, all of you all have pictures on that gym floor. It's buckled in a number of spots. I think the alumni, I think up there said they could help with some, maybe cost of $5,000 or so, which would make it a $60,000 project. But I think it's something we need to look at.
Is that a replace or repair?
It's a little of both.
Yeah.
The buckled part's going to have to be cut out and replaced. Part of it, I think, can be salvaged. But it's almost a safety hazard.
I was going to say, but the floor in a gym certainly causes issues.
So, I don't know, Mr. Sturgill, do I need approval on any of those to move forward since we've already sent out for RFPs and got those?
Sounds like we need to prioritize.
Yeah, I think that as far as, I think you can get direction from the board. I don't think you necessarily have to have formal approval.
But I would like to hear your all's thoughts. The storage building at Rose Hill, we're going to have before we can even have school. There is the tennis at Lehigh. If they're having practice or if a team comes, they either have to go to the softball field or go to the baseball field and hope that those locations are open. Softball, with it being the same time as baseball, Mr. Robbins, I'm calling you again, but I think there's been some conflicts of scheduling to use that one facility that we've got for both teams. I'd like to be able to do it all. I don't know that we can unless we tap into the capital reserve fund. But I will tell you, we don't have the exact dollar amount, but we're going to have a carryover for this year where we have save money everywhere we can, and we will start the school year with money that we've carried over from previous year. We're trying to finalize that with the treasurer's office. But ballpark, I think we're going to have over $1 million, possibly closer to $2 million, that we'll start the school year with.
Brian, you're saying Rose Hill first, number one.
I don't know that she's going to be able to have school if we don't get that stuff out of her building.
Okay. And then tennis and the softball thing here at Lehigh could be 2 and 3.
Which, if you're asking your priority 1 through 3, where would you start with the recommendation?
And
That's more
two
like-
and 4 at St. Charles could be 4. That's
You're saying we
where
can
I'd
do all
like to
those things
go.
right now?
If we tap into the capital reserve, we could do it all.
Okay.
But I would need your all's approval to tap into the capital
You
reserve.
would, and as large as these projects are, it'd probably be good to actually have the motion from the board.
So would we have to get the board of supervisors to approve it as well?
They would have to release the funding.
Correct.
But I would go before them with your all's blessing and say, you know, we've got this money that we have saved for a number of years. We're asking now that we use it. Or some of it. I won't say we would take it all.
For my part, 1, 2, 3, 4 is Rose Hill, softball, tennis, St. Charles. That's my thing.
The only thing about the St. Charles floor, that would be the one project that would impact school. Because they could not have gym if they're up there working on the gym floor. They could go out if the weather's good, but I bet it will involve a lot of dust and sanding. If we're going to try to do them all, we could get that project probably going pretty quick and see if they could get that done before school started.
Right.
The outside buildings, you know, school can go on with those. The Rose Hill building, we need to get those trailers moved within the next week or so and get that building up and get that storage stuff out there and get it set. So if you all want to do them all, Mr. Sturgill said, I think it would take a motion to give us permission to, if needed, look into the capital reserve.
Motion to amend again.
Yeah, we need to amend the agenda again, Will.
What topic is this under?
Project expenditures update, report to the superintendent.
Yeah, probably, since it's under update.
Make the motion to amend the agenda to approve
Yes,
update.
second.
Project update.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor of amending the agenda, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And now, do you have another motion, Mike?
Sure, but I would ask, by making the motion, that you prioritize it 1 through whatever. Go to the board with it, this is where we're starting, this is where we're ending. I don't know how that needs to be. I really don't.
Well, he's saying we can do all these projects that he mentioned right
Sure,
now.
but we can't get it all done.
No, that's right.
No.
So, yeah, so they'll prioritize. Is that the motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by stating aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Dean?
Mr. Chairman, kindergarten report cards, a few years ago, actually several years ago, we went away from the old kindergarten report cards that probably most of us had, which was a checklist that, you know, student can do this, student can do this, student can do this, and we went to giving kindergartners grades. At the request of the kindergarten teachers, at the request of the kindergarten principals, we would like to go back to a checklist type report card for kindergarten. I don't think this takes board approval, but we didn't want to do it if you all not know what was going on. It'll, you know, the students know their letters, they know their numbers. Ms. Willis has been working to gather information. Several divisions in Virginia have this. It's just easier to tell parents, this is what your kid can do, this is what your kid is unable to do. Grades are a little hard for kindergartners. And I think this is the path. Ms. Willis, I'll count on you. I think that all the principals are in agreement. And just want to let you all know we're going to look at developing this and have this ready this school year, and it'll be a little changed than an A, B, C, D, F report card that a kindergarten would get to bring home.
I think that's good.
Mr. Chairman, start of the school year, August the 10th is the first day of school, less than 30 days away. Teachers will report back August the 7th. We've got a number of projects that we have, like Mr. Williams said earlier, going to get ready for school. Just want to let you all know that. And if you all have anything that you think is need or a priority before school starts, if you let Ms. Belcher or I one know, so we can get that happen, make that happen if we need to. Operations update, transportation update is in your packet. If you have any questions on those, let me know. Summer work hours, next week is the last week of our Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Starting the following week after that, we'll be back to 5 days a week, 8 to 4. And that'll be when 11-month employees report. That's the reason we went back to 5 days a week. You all have in your packet from Head Start, they went through a audit. That report is in your packet. I am glad to say that they did not have any findings. Ms. Baker and her group were very excited to get that report and get those results, and I'd like to say I want to say how proud of that group I am and how much work they did. And I think we had a lady from Georgia, we had a lady from Arkansas that came, and they were just impressed with our Head Start program. So I want to commend that group. Kaleidoscope, April the 12th, I want to go ahead and put that on your calendar. We've talked to the principals, hopefully we don't have a conflict and have to change that. And then in your packet, you have a JLARC report that's about 70 pages long. I'm not going to read the entire report to you, but I will tell you they presented that Monday of this week. In brief, what they said was that Virginia school divisions receive less K-12 funding than most other states. Standards of quality are not always funded. That many states use a student-based formula, where most Virginia uses a complex staffing-based formula, and that it's got a lot of information there I wanted to share with you. But one thing I found interesting is across the state, local funds count for 52% of K-12 funding. We are not in that group. Most of our funding comes from the state. But of that 52% of funding, which is over $10 billion, $2.5 billion of it is Fairfax alone. So they've got a higher tax base than we've got, but I wanted to share that information with you. It's a lot in there, but if you want to look through it later, if you've got any questions, let me know, but I just wanted to bring that report to your attention. Chairman, that's all I have at this time.
Next, under action and discussion items, Lee County Career and Technical Center Night School.
Mr. Robbins, if you'll come up, at the request that several of you are talking about night school, we, Mr. Long and Mr. Robbins, have a proposal. I'd like to have your all's permission to do this. It would be a pilot program for 1 year. We could use ESSER money on learning loss to fund it and see how it goes. And I'd like for Mr. Robbins to tell you a little bit about what they're proposing.
Okay, we've had this in the previous years in Lee County schools, and I think both of y'all talked about it. I think it was a great thing that we had. But we thought we'd call it Twilight School instead of night school, kind of change that. And the goals of the program would be to prepare students to re-enter a traditional school program after they've had a prolonged absence, to prevent reoccurrence of disciplinary exclusion, to maintain and enhance the students' academic skills, to complete students' academic requirement that will enable them to graduate. If we get our teachers, we'd like to have 2 teachers, certified teachers, and special ed teacher, and also they can also use Edgenuity for their classes, and just help them develop social skills, behavioral strategies, and to develop resiliency and the frustration tolerance to mitigate the symptoms of medical or mental health conditions. And this also for curative recovery. If you had an older student, 17, that they can take some extra classes, and also it gives the students the opportunity to work. We had one student 2 years ago needed 1 class to graduate high school. Well, he's working construction, had to be at work at 5 a.m. and didn't get off until 4:30 or something like that. He could have come to night school and actually graduate.
So I think we, especially with the pandemic, we've got a lot of learning loss, so we can use that. And I would ask you all to approve this as a pilot program for us to use ESSER funding to cover for 1 year and see how it goes.
Do you know what classes you're going to offer?
I think it'll depend on the student.
Yes, it depends on the student, but of course, it'd be mostly your core classes. Me and Mr. Long talked today that we'd even work, figure out a way that they could come take vocational classes at 12, come for a half a day of vocational classes, and then go to the evening school if they was able to do that.
But I think we'll have to be flexible depending on what the student needs.
I've had so many former students come to me just recently and express how they appreciated having night school. They would never graduate. So it is a good thing. It'll help the graduation rate as well.
Nancy, don't we have a excellent employee here that ended up finishing up at night school? Works for Karen, you started. Phipps.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So we have an excellent employee that works here that got to finish because of night school. Yes.
Okay, so we'll amend the agenda again. Do we have-
No, it's on action.
We have a motion.
So maybe.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Rounds.
Next.
Mr. Chairman, on the amended agenda, the approval of competition cheer at Thomas Walker, this would be a new program. I know Ms. Sherrod is here. I know she sent that information, I think, to Mr. Smith, who is actually on vacation. I tried to reach out to him today and before the meeting. I have been unable to reach him, but I would like to ask that you all approve a new program at Thomas Walker for competition cheer, pending the approval of Mr. Smith. And since you all have authorized me, if they did that and he has a recommendation to start that program, if you all approve, we could get that going.
Motion. Motion. We have a second. Second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Closed session, I'll move that we move into closed session to discuss personnel under Code of Virginia, Section 2.2-3711A1, student admission under Code of Virginia, Section 2.2-3711A2, and early graduation under Code of Virginia, Section 2.2-3711A2. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in closed session.